Didn't I say second?
No, you said first. You're the
Okay,
second.
sorry. I just said that I was on drugs for coughing. So what else can I say? Y'all better stay on top of me. And I have 6 o'clock. So would you, let's call the meeting to order. And Melissa, would you like to call the roll?
Sure. Deborah Wilson.
Present.
Jason Tipton.
Here.
Vanessa McCutcheon.
Here.
Ashley Hickok. Deborah Mercer.
Here.
We have quorum.
And do we have any public on here?
Not at this time.
Okay, so did you hear us having a discussion before we start? Did you hear us having a discussion about getting Michaela's email and maybe sending her the invitation to the meeting?
Yes.
Since she's the parent leadership person.
Yes. Is it okay if she gives that to me now? Here comes Ashley.
Sure. If that's all right with her.
Sure. Are you ready, Melissa?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Michaela.
Okay. It's my name, Michaela, Michaela, Jarrett, JARRETT @gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Ashley. So not seeing any public, we can go ahead with information you want to share with us, Michaela.
Okay. I don't have a ton to share. The biggest thing that we're doing right now is gearing up for our annual Staff Appreciation Week. So typically we do it a little bit earlier in the year, but this year we're actually following the countrywide week, or first week of May. It starts May 3rd. So we've just been trying to figure out how to appreciate the staff and teachers with some of the restrictions that are still in place for obvious reasons. We are doing Monday, we are doing Mythos Catering, which we actually sent out a Google Doc kind of survey and took votes, and the top 2 were Rio Grande and Mythos. We're doing both of those. One is Monday, one is Friday. We're doing Jumping Bean coffee delivery Tuesday morning, the 4th. There's actually a parent that in 1st grade that is having lunch catered for everyone. I think they own a catering business. I'm not sure. It has nothing to do with Teacher Appreciation Week. It was just already on the calendar. So they're actually going to get lunch 3 days that week, which is great. So Tuesday is Jumping Bean. Wednesday, of course, we're still remote. And then Thursday, we're going to do Panera breakfast for them. And we're having a Google Meet Thursday evening with all of the room parents to kind of give them, especially the new room parents, to give them the rundown on what we normally do for that week, so we can start getting communication out to the families about each day as a kind of a different theme. And again, we included this in our survey. So Monday is, bring your teacher and your staff their favorite snack. So we have a Google spreadsheet for that. One day is school supplies, which some don't need the supplies this year, but some do. So we have that on the Google spreadsheet to share with everyone. We're going to stock the staff lounge again for the last 6 weeks or so of the school year. One day is like flowers and plants. And then Friday, we typically gift the classroom teachers with, we take up a collection for a couple weeks and gift them some gift cards and some other things on their wish list. And then we also gift all of the admin and the deans and the custodial staff and all the specials. We kind of pool the money together and divvy it up and gift everyone, just to show thanks to all that they've done. So that's that. And we've had a few spirit nights lately. They've gone really well. Jumping Bean has done really well. They posted on Facebook yesterday that it was the craziest spirit day that they've ever had for any school. So definitely getting a lot of support there. And, you know, for us, it's never really about the money that they give back. It's more, we're just trying to keep that community school spirit going. It's nice to get a little check here and there, but that's really not what it's about. And then we did Rio Grande last month, and that went really well. So just trying to keep things as normal as we can this year.
Well, that's like a lot of exciting things. Thank you for doing so many nice things for our teachers. I know that will make them feel very loved and special.
Yeah, that's the plan. So that's all that's going on right now. I think there's some people working behind the scenes on 8th grade graduation and things like that, what they can do for that. And that's in the planning stages. We're regularly meeting every month, and we've dealt with voted on some teacher requests lately and trying to support them with some flexible seating and things that they need. And we have a really strong, finally have a really strong parent leadership team in place moving forward. So I'm excited that we have a big group and a group that is showing up and is willing to step in. So I think we'll be in a good spot moving forward next year too.
Sounds great. Thank you for sharing all of those things with us. And next time we meet, then Melissa will send you a reminder invite. Okay.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna log off if that's okay.
That's fine. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Miranda, the best part of the meeting, the stampede moments.
Well, I would like to share, I wanted to share a little bit about our field trip day that we did right before spring break. So it was a day of fun for everybody. So K2, I know most of them, I think, took their students to Disney World. And I saw people coming out with, popcorn and cotton candy, and they had been on virtual rides and lots of characters and princesses dressed up coming to school. So that was neat to see. In the upper elementary, we had one of the teachers take students outside and blast a rocket. We had one of the teachers dressing their room up for March Madness. She dressed like a referee, and the kids had on jerseys, and she had, transformed her classroom. She had paper or pretend jerseys hanging from the ceiling, kind of like you would see in a stadium. And then something neat that the middle schoolers did in 7th and 8th grade. So our students normally take their field trip in 7th grade to Camp Don Lee. So one of the teachers was able to organize a virtual field trip, and they actually had the counselors present to the class and get to go to some of the stations that they would have visited had they actually gone to the camp and stayed. And I think they dissected a fish at lunch. So the kids watched the camp counselor dissect the fish. But it was just neat to see in a time of the year when, everybody's kind of worn out. We've got testing coming up, and, just how things are at the end of the year. It was nice to see everybody kind of take a day and just have some fun. The kids were having fun. Teachers were having fun with the kids. And it was just a nice send off for spring break. So it was a really good day. And then the teachers, we were able to treat them to smoothies and sunglasses before they left for spring break. So they were excited about that. But really, the best way to describe it was just a day of fun. So
that's great. Thank you for all that hard work. We love hearing the good stuff. And you do not have to stay if you would like to go do something else.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Hopefully she's going home. You're going home, right?
You're going home.
My bag ready. Okay.
Okay, Rudy, principal report.
All right. I apologize for the long principal report that came your way today. I promise it won't take that long to go through, but I did want to give you some, some updates on a lot of different things. So first of all, the enrollment figures, I tried to put some different figures in there. Since we came in Plan A with middle school yesterday, I thought I would show you in those columns as of like Monday morning, essentially, what the enrollment looked like currently between who was here in person and who was still remote. And you can see that when we started back in October, I guess, started coming into school, we were at about 65-35, 65% in person, 35% remote. And you can see that's changed a little bit. Right now, we're at 72% in person and 28% remote. Some grade levels are heavy remote. 5th grade, 3rd grade are leading the way. 5th grade in front by a person there. But we also have quite a few in 7th and 8th, or in 8th grade. So it's there might be a typo there for 7th grade. I think that's probably not 22. I have to check that, but the percentages have really decreased, and we have a lot more people in person. But our enrollment is still very strong. We're still well above our enrollment goal. And then the very last column there is the wait list for next school year. So it's an interesting comparison. You can see the wait list for this school year to the left, and we're in April. So those wait lists are pretty exhausted by now. We haven't, the chances that we'll go to anybody else on that wait list is very slim. But the wait list on the right, you can see, is how we'll almost start out the school year. As we go into the summer, we'll see those numbers go down some as we enroll people off the wait list. And you can kind of see a little bit of how it drifts back and forth, and how the numbers don't fall as much as you might think. But we also have more people on the wait list right now than we have probably ever had. So it'll be interesting to see how that enrollment goes through the summer. All that being said, we're in great shape for the summer. I do want to check that 7th grade number, because I know it's not 22, and that's throwing off all my calculations, because that would, well, I guess it could be 22. That's 84 kids. So probably is correct. But you can see 4th grade has the most in-person people at 72. And so it varies. A lot of kindergarten kids there, very few of them remote. So the K-5 teachers have been doing this since the 1st of February. Middle school teachers are getting used to it. They had 2 days in. So highlights, field trip day, which Miranda shared with you about. Spring break. It's always nice to have spring break. Middle school began Plan A yesterday. I was pretty excited about that, because when you think about it, we had more people on campus in school on Monday than we have had since March the 13th, 2020. That was the last regular school day of last school year. And since we've had, we came in hybrid with A day and B day with everyone. And then in February, all the K-5 came in 4 days a week, and now everybody's there 4 days a week. So it's starting to feel more and more like regular school. Upcoming events, I've got a lot to kind of discuss with you briefly. Check-in 3, it's our next tests that are on board over the next 2-3 weeks. We'll be taking them reading, math, science in 5th and 8th grade. But one of the things we're really working hard on, what we wanted to just bring to your attention, is that we are planning a summer learning program, and really in 2 different fashions. One is a targeted program. The targeted program will be targeted at-risk scholars. It'll be 4 weeks over the summer, 8 to 12, 5 days a week. So at-risk students will be invited to be a part of this program. We're working on our list. We're getting the number of teachers that we have available, so we know how many students we can begin to invite. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll begin to invite families to come to our summer learning in-person program. So these kids from 8 to 12 will be in person with a teacher. They'll do 90 minutes of math, 90 minutes of reading. They'll have a 30-minute recess, a 30-minute special that we're working on. So it'll feel like a good half school day. It's going to be staffed by our teachers and our paraprofessionals. And again, we're getting all those numbers together. All that whole program will be paid for mostly by grant dollars through COVID summer dollars. We're working on that budget, working with NHA on that budget. We don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out yet, but that's our plan for in-person targeted learning. We're also going to do a whole school program, and it will be a combination of online learning and paper pencil learning. So we're getting printed material done by NHA that will be somewhat similar to the bridge books, that type of thing, where kids will review their current grade levels, kind of standards and learning, and begin to preview next school year's learning. Those things are still being printed. We don't have them yet. We'll also be using 2 online tools. Lexia, it'll be a new tool for us, will be our reading tool. And it's a really nice online tool because it's really 2 programs. There's a K-5 program called Core 5, and then there's a 6-8 program that's called Power Up. So they're 2 kind of completely separate programs that still read with the same types of data. So our kids will be able to have targeted reading practice along the lines of their own personal reading skills without even really taking a test with Lexia. Dreambox will be the math component. It's a K-8 program where kids, again, will be targeted for their learning. So if you're an advanced learner, you'll get advanced learning. If you're a struggling learner, you'll get review. And so everybody will have the opportunity. Some, the in-person kids will have the opportunity to also do the summer learning program whole school. So they can get kind of a double dose of summer learning, hopefully make up some of those deficits. We've got incentives for our summer learning whole school program, like our summer learning t-shirts. And we're going to have some drawings. Our school leadership team was working on that today. Some ideas of what to get. We'll also have some summer teaching staff that look over it and are able to help push some online learning towards our students if they are struggling but still working. And right now we're waiting on our budget to kind of come through NHA. I expect that next board meeting, I'll probably bring a request there for some funds to help provide our incentives for summer learning. I don't know yet what I'll need because I don't know what I'll get through our grant dollars and what all I can use them for. So as soon as all that's worked out in the next week or 2, I'll know. I'll put in a request and I'll actually come and ask you guys for money next month. I promise. So for our summer learning program. So the next thing is EOG week. I bring up EOG week because I need some flexibility when it comes to school operations that week, because we still have such a large percentage of our students working remotely. The only way to take an EOG, you have to come to school in person. They're not allowing EOGs to be given remotely. And so you have to come to the school to take them. And while we're not under the same restrictions about the percentage of students that come or that have to take the test, we do want to provide the opportunity for as many students to take it as possible. So right now, and this is working with the current COVID status of everything that we have going on, what we want to do is stretch EOGs out over the entire week. Instead of doing in just 3 days, we want to try to stretch it to 5. So as long as you give me the flexibility to do this, Monday and Tuesday, we want to, the way the school is set up, you 4 parents know, Deborah, you probably know, downstairs is K2 and specials. Upstairs is 3rd through 8th grade and some EC classrooms. What we want to be able to do is use the entire upstairs kind of all week for testing. In order to do that, we want to have certain sections of grade levels remote for a couple of days that week. For example, on a Monday and Tuesday, the 17th and 18th, we'd like to test our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. The reason we want them to go first is because of the read to achieve process that 3rd grade has to go through. So we want to get those reading scores back as quickly as possible so we can make evaluations about retesting and taking the read to achieve test for our 3rd graders. But our 6th through 8th grade students would work remotely. The way that would work is that we use our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers to provide testing environments for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade remote kids and our EC 504 separate setting kids. If we do that, then our K2 scholars can come in like a regular school day. Normally what we do is shut down K2 for 2 days and test all over the building, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. But that really cuts back on what our K2 scholars can do. And with only a couple weeks left, we really don't want them to lose any more learning time that we can avoid. So what we want to do is operate like this, but that would mean that their 6th, 7th, 8th grade would work remotely Monday and Tuesday. 3rd, 4th, and 5th would come in and take the test. We estimate that everybody's done testing no later than noon. And so our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers could then go live with our middle schoolers for the afternoon, 12 to 3, because they would not be testing students. Wednesday, we want to have our 5th and 8th grade students come into the school building and take the science test. Everybody else would work remotely since we're working remotely, but we want to open the school for 5th and 8th grade to come in and take the science test. So we have some extra people there. The 5th and 8th graders would test in their home rooms. We'd have rooms set aside for the remote students to come in. So they would come in, test in a separate environment than the in-person kids. So we're hoping that encourages them to come in so they still won't be around that many, as many people. And then on that Wednesday, we would run 5 to 8 and open the school from 8 to 12 and then send everybody home at 12 o'clock once we're done testing. Thursday and Friday, we switch that. 6th, 7th, and 8th come into the building. They take their test. 3rd, 4th, and 5th stay home remotely for those 2 days. And the teachers, their 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teachers help deliver the test for the 6th to 8th grade. And then they go live with their kids in the afternoon. Again, K2 comes in all 4 days that week. The next week, everybody just comes to school. And we finish out the school year there, even though we may be giving makeup tests at different places in the building. And we have 7th and 8th graders that will take the EOC on Tuesday. We can do that with everybody there. So it's a weird week that would happen the week of end of grade testing. As long as the board's willing to let me have that flexibility and working that out. We've looked at 3 or 4 different plans, and we think this is the most effective, keeps our K2 people in class learning all week. The only people it affects are the people who have to take the test. So they either have some time off away from the test or time off, take the test and then have some time off. But I do need some flexibility in being able to craft our week to fit our testing schedule. So I don't know that you need to pass a resolution or anything. I just want to let you know that right now is our current plan. Obviously, all that could change if I don't know, watching COVID counts and things that are going on. Places it's crazy, but we would be mindful of that This also gives us flexibility if at the last minute we have to change. We've got some flexibility in that schedule to change. Any questions about any of those two things before I move on? Because the rest of it's easier.
I think that looks like a really well thought out plan. I don't have any objection to you doing whatever kind of flexible you need, because it is going to depend on kids and days. And this looks like a good plan to me. It doesn't look like our middle school kids are going to have to do too much remote, which that would be my only concern, is that they'd have to, do some more remote. But I'm glad that K2 will be in school every day. That's great.
Right. We wanted to prioritize that. To do it in 2 days, we would have to keep the K2 kids out. And we could do that, but the K2 kids would go remote for 2 full days, because we can't give, with all the different settings we need, we can't give that many settings with the K2 kids there, unless we provide them in the grade levels like we are here.
I don't have a question, just a comment. I'm very impressed. I can't imagine how long that took to figure that out. Well done.
Well, thank you. And again, we'll be flexible, just like the whole year's been. Who knows what could happen in a month? Although it feels like things are normalizing, and you can kind of predict how things will go between now and the end of the school year. Things are still just kind of up in the air, and we want to be able to flex, as we need to. But I think that will help us.
So as a board, we need to all be comfortable with saying you have the flexibility that you need, but we would like a notification that you're going to do this or this if something happens and you
Right.
have kids out more than we thought, so that we'd all be informed. Otherwise, I'm all for you having the flexibility. If someone disagrees or has some other opinions or suggestions, please make them.
No, I agree 100%. This looks like a super efficient way to do it.
Well, this would be our plan right now. Obviously, you meet again in May, and if we needed to change it up before then, we certainly would be back in touch. Certainly by the time we met in May, any radical changes to how we have to operate will have taken place, and we'll adjust.
And you will make sure that parents see this is what we're planning. This
Yes.
is just the first flex schedule, and that it could change, so that they have a heads up for how it's going to be, because I know they get nervous about the whole testing procedure anyway.
Well, I wanted to share it with the board first to make sure I had the flexibility to do it, and then I would probably share this out Friday with the whole school.
I think that's great. The sooner the better.
Right. Scrolling on down then, school improvement goals, our 60-day plan. We're closing in on check-in 3. So hopefully we're covering our standards. We decided with the school leadership team to up our goal from 75% to 85% for proficiency marks on math and reading. And then in participation goal, we're doing everything we can, even our EOG plan, to make sure students are participating. On a side note, I was recently at a North Carolina principal meeting, and they had scores from all of the North Carolina NHA schools. So not across NHA, but just North Carolina schools. And they were judging learning loss from how schools performed on check-in 2 a year ago, which is kind of significant because we took check-in 2 and then about a week later, poof, we were gone. So check-in 2 was kind of our last real measure of 3rd through 8th grade learning. then school shut down and the world shut down and all that happened. And so comparing where we were a year ago to where we were this year, of the 13 NHA schools, Summerfield was ranked second in learning loss, meaning we have lost less. I don't know. We were at 3%. We were at a negative 3% proficiency mark from check-in two to a year ago to check-in two this year. The number one school had 2% loss, and then everybody else had more than 3%. And some of them had significant losses. You know, it's a real challenge. And so I was very, very happy with that. If you compared us to check-in one, we made great strides from the fall through the winter in student learning because of the great things our teachers were doing. And the second part of that report showed the percentage of what NHA does is they take the North Carolina check-in scores, analyze them, and make a predictive score of how the student will do on the end of grade test and whether or not they will score proficient. And so they showed our percentage that they predicted to be proficient on the end of grade test, and we were the number one proficient school in the state, NHA schools. So that was a measure of I hate to say pride, because you know pride cometh before a fall, but I was really proud of how our scholars had performed and how our teachers had put it together. And that I know that because of the 3rd through 8th graders, we had 98% of our students take those tests. That's amazing number of kids in this situation that took those tests. So our kids took it seriously. It's a really good judge of how our kids are doing right now. I was really excited to see those numbers. So as we head into check-in 3, I'm excited to see how we do. And then of course we'll head towards EOGs. Operation model updates. I think we've covered that. Middle school coming in. We had 30 scholars move from virtual to in-person, and 3 scholars moved back to virtual. Net gain of 27. That's essentially a whole classroom that came in. And like I said, we had the most people on campus on Monday and Tuesday than we have had since March the 13th, 2020. So that was pretty exciting. So I think that's the end of that principal report. Any questions about that before we move on to the next couple of things on our
Rudy, I had a question on the summer
Yes.
learning. Is in-person summer learning something that we've typically done? I don't, just given my I'm a little bit newer to the board. Is that something we usually do?
We've never done it to this extent. We've had more of a camp type approach where some teachers have done some camps, math camps, science camps. We've had sports camps and people come into that. We have run a Read to Achieve camp, which is really focused on 3rd and 4th graders, or excuse me, 2nd and 3rd graders who are not scoring yet proficient in reading. And we've had small groups, 5, 10 kids participate in those types of camps. So we've never done anything to this scale. So it will be interesting to see who's willing to take advantage of it. And we'll start with the kids who need it the most. And we'll have X number of spots that we can offer. And we'll do our best to fill up those spots. And we'll expand the range of invitations as we need to. But this is a much bigger program. This is a bigger program than I've ever run during any summer I've been a principal. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
I'm glad we're able to offer it, and it will be interesting to see the results.
Yes. I think the other 2 pieces are in your board packet. And it's the interim assessment report and the retention update. The interim assessment report, I just shared with you some data from check-in 2. Interim two results are our check-in twos for NHA, and they craft this chart completely different than the way I just told you we look at check-in twos. This one they judge on a 1, 2, 3, 4 scale that NHA crafts itself for its grading, and so they analyze the check-ins with the different types of questions that are asked, and through a complicated process decide who gets a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not EOG related. It doesn't correlate with EOGs. And so honestly, I think it's a confusing way to present this material to you. What is a good thing to know is that we have a very high percentage of our kids that would be scoring proficient or better on these tests. Obviously, there are struggling students. These students can take this particular test both online from home and in person. And we can supervise it much better than we did in the fall. So we feel really secure that these are accurate results, which is good. So this is data we can really use and are using to kind of sink our teeth into and plan out that last month of school to see where our kids need to grow and learn in 3rd through 8th grade at least. K2 is using different tools, different measures through some math assessments and reading assessments that we're doing personally, more so than these check-in. So that's what you see in the school overview. The scaled score distribution shows how many percentages of each student scored in that range. The proficient score is really 2.5 and up, if you want to look at that way. So if you want to look and combine those numbers, that's where you would see about 2.5 is where they would judge a student would be scoring proficient on the EOG test. One thing that's really good is we had a real significant improvement in math from check-in 1 to check-in 2. Even though math scores are lagging slight behind reading, our math, the increase between check-in 1 and check-in 2 was significant. So that's very positive. So if you look at how our scaled scores did compared to other suburban NHA schools, these would be how we're doing compared to other North Carolina schools, because they are the ones who take interim 2. I don't think they include all the other Michigan, Ohio schools, for example, but I don't know. If you look, we are performing significantly better than the other suburban schools that we're compared to. You can see our lower numbers are much lower than the gray bars, and the greens are much higher than the other gray bars. This is really, really encouraging to me. I'm really, really proud of our teaching staff and the way they have put things together through this crazy year. And our kids are really, really doing well. They've really stayed engaged, and that's a credit to it's a credit to our teachers, but it's also a credit to our scholars and their hard work, and it's a real credit to our families, because during this uneven year, it's been you're in, you're out, you're there 2 days a week, you're out 2 days a week, you're out every Wednesday. And so families have really got to bind together to help our kids continue to learn. And our community has just done an amazing job, really just an amazing job. And I think this type of score bears it out. And I think that's what we look at. And then I think the next part, any questions about that? Next part is retention. And I don't think there's any figures in here about retention. Basically, what I would tell you that is retention is not a major issue at SCA. As we look through, we have a couple of kids we're watching in kindergarten, a couple of kids we're watching in 1st grade. There are some middle schoolers we're watching. That's really based more on attendance and performance in the classroom. But I also have I take a really hard line in pretty much retaining anyone outside of kindergarten and 1st grade. statistics and history tells you that it doesn't benefit students unless it's a very unusual circumstance. But we are looking at it hard in some of our middle school grades because of poor attendance issues with a couple of individuals and because they are below grade level. And then in third grade, we have I think right now, 12 students who have not passed a read to achieve marker yet. And that would mean they haven't scored proficient as judged by the read to achieve legislation for North Carolina in reading. And so those kids haven't passed, say, the beginning of third grade test, or the MAP test, which we took in the fall, or the iReady diagnostic test. Haven't scored high enough on that yet. I think there are 12 students in third grade that have not done that. So they would show up as kind of on the retention list. However, those kids will have another iReady test assessment. They'll have the MAP test to take. They'll have the end of grade test to take in May. And then after that, any student who has not passed one of those markers yet could take the read to achieve test, which would be given the second week of EOGs. So those kids would have 4 more opportunities to show themselves proficient. So they'll have lots of opportunities to show themselves that they're growing. And so the 12 that's there, obviously there's some kids who are in special education at EC, and they probably will not make it. But then we'll make decisions on whether or not who, what, or how will retain those kids once all of those assessments are complete. And then we'd have real good numbers there. So
would they be candidates for our targeted summer program?
Oh, yes.
Even if they pass the test, they probably still need more than that.
Yes. I mean, you can pass like a third grade EOG with a 3 and only score in almost the 40th percentile.
Yeah.
So you can be a struggling reader and still need assistance, still pass the EOG and still need assistance. So, but definitely anybody who has not passed a read to achieve marker will be a target for that summer program.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a lot today. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Any other questions for Rudy? I keep interrupting. I'm sorry, Rudy.
No, you're fine.
Our board fund report shows that we have $80,397.20. So we should be able to fund the summer learning, which we have done in the past. We didn't last year at all because of COVID. So we won't have any problems. So make sure you have what you need for that.
You have funded like our summer learning t-shirts and things like that.
We did, but last summer we didn't because of COVID and we didn't have it. So, that's like, make sure that you have what you need.
I will.
Because we'll say yes,
I promise. Next month it's coming.
Okay, good. And speaking of next month we're planning on meeting in person. So everyone can sort of plan towards that. And Deb, are you ready with any parent report or concerns or questions?
Yeah, I'm ready. Just short and sweet. I think most people are happy with their choices. If they've come back to school or stayed remote, I've just heard good things. So we just appreciate everybody working so hard at school to make that all happen. And looking forward to 8th grade graduation and all the plans for that. Yeah, so I don't have too much.
Well, good. Thank you.
Hey, Deb Mercer, just in case, there is the 8th grade graduation planning committee is meeting and planning. I know we've had a couple of parents reach out, and I know that Miranda sent out a couple of save the date. We're working on the plans. But things are so, topsy-turvy. Where we would normally have it, we contacted the church. Church said we can have 50 people here at a non-church related event. And I thought, well, that's not enough. And even if the governor relented and put it up to 100, that wouldn't be enough. So, we're not hopeful we're going to be able to do anything inside anywhere. So we're planning an outside at the school graduation, very similar to what we're doing next year. But we're trying to give it as much time as possible to see what alternatives we might be able to get. So it's not that we're not working on it. If anybody's asking,
Yeah.
we are working on it.
Well, with our board funds the way they are, Rudy, if you found some place that you needed to rent, that would be a possibility.
We've looked at that, and there are a couple of places that you might be able to rent, but you'd have a space where, say, like we've heard of one place, and you could bring 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
That means there'd be about 100 between the 8th graders and the staff members that need to be there. There'd be about 100, and everybody in the grade level could maybe bring 2 people, and that's it.
Okay. I'm just saying that if it has to be a rental place or the rental tent or whatever it is, it looks like we have board fund money for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and the parent leadership team is very generous with 8th grade graduation, but I'll certainly pass that on. We're looking for some alternatives, but it's really hard. It's very difficult, and so last year you could come and bring a carload of people with you, and far more than 2, and it was fun. But that worst case scenario, that's what we end up with, and I'm sure we'll make it memorable and have fun.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I think right now it's just the uncertainty, and that's nobody's fault. And just know that if any of the teachers or dean or you want to reach out, there's a whole group of parents who are happy to help with funding or planning or anything like that. So.
Well, we have the as usual, the 7th grade team of parents who are on that committee and helping plan it and put it together, working with Miss Robertson. So there's a group of people working on it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. So in our discussion items, now Melissa, make sure I have this right. Letter A, the board self-evaluation and evaluation of NHA. I'd like to propose that we move that to next month. Does anyone object? And Melissa, what about letter B?
Letter B is the link I sent out to the board. Have you all received that? I want to say I sent it last week regarding NHA's, your evaluation of NHA for the 2021 school year. So you should have received a link to take that survey, and it should take maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
7 minutes at the max. I think that's what board members are saying.
Okay, well, I haven't done my homework. I might as well just say that right up front, but I will get to it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And then
y'all are
C.
busy. Y'all are busy, and as a reminder, you are also volunteers. So I understand.
And letter C is the parent and student handbook.
So just a few tweaks, and that is probably the bulk of your board packet, with a variety of changes with verbiage and different statutes that have changed. So that has been provided to you for the 21-22 school year, but of course, pending board approval.
Does anyone have questions or comments? Rudy, any warnings?
A couple of things I would point out, because this is coming from NHA. And it would be things that I know I've dealt with this year. The calamity days, that's what they call them, inclement weather days. According to the new handbook, there are basically no inclement weather days. That if you have an inclement weather day, you're to transition to remote learning for all of it, unless there is such a calamity that it would make it impossible. And so that's been a complaint I've gotten when we've had days where we've said, okay, we're going to learn remote. And some of that's because I'm not right now given a choice. You put it in that handbook. If we keep it in the handbook like that, then, you know, it's become law of the land, so to speak. And I just wanted you to know, because if we have to operate that way, there's a couple of things. Sometimes you don't know you're going to have a calamity day until it happens. And our teachers wouldn't necessarily be prepared at a moment's notice next year to jump remotely. I'm also making the assumption that hopefully next year things are much more normal. And so we're not, right now we could jump remote tomorrow, no matter what happened. Teachers might make a little adjustment, but you know, hey, we got our laptops, we could do it. But next year they won't necessarily be recording lessons and have extra things lessons. We'll have our Google Classrooms and we'll have things at, you know, that we can use, but it could be a real struggle to operate in a regular basis. And then in December 12th, we get a snowstorm and the next day we're out for snow. I don't know how well our teachers would be able to navigate that.
Can we have our own board discretion to say we don't want that? I mean, I'm just saying that maybe everyone else on the board thinks we should have it, but from a teacher standpoint, I'm saying, do we have the discretion to say our school isn't going to use that in the handbook?
So I've been told to refer you to the board counsel for that particular answer.
Well, we are in North Carolina, and sometimes the things they tell us don't work really well in North Carolina.
Your board counsel, though, should be right there in North Carolina. Are you all with John Flynn?
Yes.
Yeah. So some boards are using their discretion and pushing back very honestly about that calamity day. Others are just like, let's plan around it and make sure that those calamity days equal days of remote learning at our school. And then others just are refusing to accept the handbook as is. And others have accepted it without question. So completely up to you. I don't want to guide you one way or the other, but I want you to make the decision that you're comfortable with.
Well, we have a reputation for making decisions just for our school, and we really step outside the box and tell NHA no with the greatest of ease. So what I'm saying to Rudy is, can we say we don't want that in the handbook and leave it up to discretion?
Now, obviously, I'm not your legal counsel.
I understand that, but I'm asking you as a principal.
Yes, I think you have discretion to voice what you think is appropriate in the handbook for our school. Because I don't think in this particular, that's not a state law that we're reworking to make sure we're in compliance.
That's what I'm asking. Is that a state law? Does that apply to us as a state law?
I would say this is an NHA initiative. So you could phrase it however you wanted. If you wanted to change it up, remove it, use phrasing like at the discretion of the board and the principal, we may choose. I don't know how you might want to phrase it. Get
That's right, Rudy.
Yeah, you know, in there to phrase it correctly.
Like as the board, we give the discretion for a calamity day in the hands of our school leader at our school principal.
And I think that's what it needs to be. And I can tell you of at least 5 incidences since January that my personal school has had to say there can be no school because the weather calamity kept people from having equal internet, equal access to the internet. People were without electricity and all kinds of things. So, like, that bothers me because of that we can't have our own local discretion. And Rudy say our people are in the middle of all this mess and we're having a big bad ice storm. And so we can't provide any remote adequately and with equal access. So that concerns me about it. Parents, what are your thoughts? Board members, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. Just the thought of, for our teachers, like you said, trying to plan at a moment's notice, and we're not doing the devices like we are this year. And just the thought of no snow days ever again is just really sad, especially because then we wouldn't get a song from Rudy. And,
that's right. You're exactly right, Deb.
Yeah, that's really what's important here.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah, so I definitely think at the discretion of the school leaders that, that needs to be in there. And, I certainly don't want to advocate for not having learning days because, of course, that is the most important thing. That's why we're all here. But at the same time, just having that blanket hard and fast rule is really going to be a problem.
There was the complaint. I got complaints from multiple parents when we had a couple of inclement weather days that just turned into remote learning days. Over and above the certain days we had to put into our calendar this school year that had to be remote learning days because of the state law. Last one coming up this coming Monday. It's remote learning because we had to make it remote learning. But a couple other times, NHA came to us and said no more inclement weather days, and I thought, well, that's no good. But
well, our school happens to be in Tornado Alley. I mean, we have ice storms, and they probably don't have all of that in Michigan. So I think that we should do discretion of our school leader. What do we have to do to take that out? Do I need to find it, and do I need to tell John Flynn, or what will we do? What's the process?
No, I'll just make note of it in the board minutes and highlight it for that team so that whatever they have to share with the board, they'll have to share with me once they review your response.
So then under the action items, letter F, we're not going to approve it?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll take that one out. And then the last thing, well, any more comments about this handbook and this inclement weather? Okay, then the next thing is this calendar, the school calendar. It says board calendar.
Board calendar.
Oh, okay. Anybody have comments on the board calendar? Are we all still good with our second Tuesday? I hope I got it right that time. Then I guess we're all good with that, Melissa. Hearing no complaints.
What I did send you all was the school calendar for Summerfield, just because it was hot off the press and we were going to talk tonight. And I know the calendar is huge for the school as well as for parents. So I'm like, I promise you, I will take it to the board and share with them. So I think I share that with you via email, but I can throw it up if you'd like me to.
Well, is this our plan, Rudy? I don't know without comparing it to last year's school calendar. Rudy, you have your mic off. There you go.
This would be our proposed calendar for you to consider for next year. The state has not given us any direction for any changes like they did a year ago, which they did in June after we made the calendar in April. So it could still come and we have to adjust things. But this fits NHA's model, except that says Greensboro Academy.
Yes, excuse me, very similar to yours. Hold on.
I don't want theirs because I've seen theirs and I don't like
No,
theirs.
we want the one that says Summerfield at the top. That's what I'm holding in my hand.
Because we're going to get out before they do.
Yes, you will.
Because they pushed theirs back to the middle of the next week in June. And I said, no, I'm done
You
on
saw that,
Friday.
yeah. Here you go. Wait a minute, let me make sure Deb sees it. Summerfield, okay.
I have Summerfield in
Sorry,
my.
y'all. Okay. When do you get out? Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. Quickly.
You're not done to June 8th.
Yeah. We're out June 3rd. But
Yep.
Some of the other schools are adding different professional development days during the school year and coming out on the 8th. That's a great plan, except when June the 3rd gets here, that's not a good plan.
Yeah.
Everybody wants out of school, and they would give up those PD days back in there. The one thing that I might do slightly different, and we have done in the past, but NHA frowns upon, is we would do a half day prior to winter break and a half day on the last day of school, like we have done the past couple of years. But I was out of half days at the discretion of NHA, and they made me take those out. And I said, well, the board may want to put them back. I don't know. So I'm just bringing it up for you to consider.
Well, as the leader of the board and as a teacher, I'm going to tell you that that half day before a break is really, really important. Really important. Good for mental health. It's good for relationships.
Currently, we have 4 half days, and they are all based around parent-teacher conferences. In November, there's 2, and in February, there are 2. And they're all only to help our teachers do parent-teacher conferences. So if we had the half day.
I think we need at least the other 2. Board members, are y'all thinking I've lost my mind?
No, I would completely agree with you. Yes, that's, to be truthful, you know, what's the afternoon before everybody gets out, how much learning is involved at that point.
Very young people take their kids out of school too.
Exactly.
But Rudy, is this is the plan though that you're proposing, correct? This is a schedule of half days that you are recommending?
Yes. In work with National Heritage Academies, yes. But my original proposal to them would have had half days in December and June.
Okay.
And that's the ones that I have.
And we've typically had those, Vanessa, on our calendar.
Okay.
So we could really say that, yes, we've looked at this draft, but we'd like those half days in December and the last day of school. And then next month we'd have to say, yes, we like this one.
I think you probably could, if you wanted to pass it with the contingency that you also want that half day on, I can't see the date, you know, December 17th and June the 3rd. You might be able to pass it with that contingency.
December 17th and June.
Not have to wait till next month.
June 3rd. Oh, okay. That would be even better. How does everyone feel about that? Discussion?
No issues from me.
Same. I'm supportive.
Because we don't have this on our list of action items. Because I'm overlooking it.
No, it's not on there. I told the team that I would bring it to the board today, so it's not on the agenda. It's an add-in.
It's a
But if
lot.
we added it, it'd be letter H. No, it'd be letter G because we're taking out letter F. G.
Oh. I don't know about that.
When we're done discussing the half days, I do have another issue on the calendar.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. And I didn't think about this until just now, but, and I know we're not a religious school, but I think, and I know spring break was just the other week, but I was on vacation. I don't remember. Don't we normally have Good Friday off? And I just looked up that Easter is April 17th. So I thought we normally did the week before Easter off as spring break. That
We match
included.
spring breaks with Guilford County for our families, and
Yeah.
they vary, and sometimes they'll take the week off going into Easter, and sometimes they take the week off after Easter.
Yeah.
So it varies.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, Deb, that the 15th is April 15th, which would be Good Friday, is not a state holiday, but that Easter Monday, the 18th, is a state holiday. And that's what some state calendars have been based on. And I don't know what Guilford County's is, but having worked on the calendar committee for many, many years, only one of those days is a state holiday.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely the Easter Monday would be the main holiday. I was just concerned with that. But you're right. I do remember checking the drafts for GCS, and they've flip-flopped, and Rockingham County has also flip-flopped. One used to do before and one would do after, and next year they've switched. So I don't know.
But we have had that day off before,
Okay.
Deb, but in the constraints of the calendar, I have to have 180 school days. So if you take that day off, you gotta add it. You gotta add a day somewhere.
Absolutely. Yes. And if, if it's an important day for a certain few kids, then, they can work that out with teachers and stuff. It's
Sure.
not certainly going to affect the majority of our scholars.
It's the day before spring break, so it's not generally a well-attended day. So it's one of those lost days of the school year, like the day before winter break, the day before spring break. You get in the day before the Thanksgiving break. You get in and you pull for 3 o'clock to come as fast as possible. And then you go home.
And I'm sure if you could beg for 4 half days instead of just 2, you would add one before Thanksgiving and before spring break.
Possibly, I would. But I won't get too far off the reservation. If y'all take it off the reservation, I'll be supportive of you.
I think that we'd probably be really dinged if we did that by people watching us. So I added to the action items for letter G, the approval of the draft calendar with the contingencies of a half day on December 17th and on June 3rd. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any more discussion about the discussion items so far? Then let's look at the action items. We have approval of the March 9th board meeting minutes, approval of the March 25th board meeting minutes, the reelection of Deborah Wilson to serve an additional board term of 4 years, the approval of the summer learning program for EOG, and approval of the contract to audit, approval of board funds for the 2021 National Charter School Conference. So has everyone that wants to go to that, have you let Melissa know? Did you tell her, Vanessa? Because we did not allocate those funds, did we, last month?
No,
We
but
did not, we didn't allocate, but we can tonight if you like.
We probably need to do that ahead of time because we know we said last month that everybody would know whether they were going to sign up for that online conference or not. Just so we know how many registrations we need.
I'll participate, Melissa.
Okay. Perfect.
I'd still like to participate.
Okay, great.
That's
So
it.
Jason and Vanessa, anybody else?
We're going to be camping without reliable internet, so I don't want to spend the money and not be certain that I'll be able to be on.
Okay. So then we want to allocate funds for 2 registrations. Do we have to have a specific dollar amount, Vanessa, Melissa?
It's $125 per person.
Oh, okay. So that's 250. That's okay. And then we have the approval of the draft calendar that I just read.
Yep.
So do we have anyone willing to make a motion for approval of the action items A through G?
Real quick, Deb, just so I've got it straight, because we've got a.
Could you try again?
That was my phone. I'm sorry.
We've got how I want to arrange it. That way we don't approve something accidentally. So it's A, B, C, D, E, scratching F, and then
we took out the F for approval of the parent student handbook.
right.
So the next one becomes F, and then G is the approval of the draft calendar with contingencies of a half a day on December 17th and June 3rd.
Okay, so you just want to move it into its place.
Yes. So we would still just have A through G.
Okay, gotcha. I will make a motion that we approve action items A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
A second, please.
Second.
All in favor of approval of items A through G, please say aye.
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 And anyone opposed, say nay. Thank you very much. And then the next thing is board member comments. Do we have a closed session today?
No.
Okay. I didn't think I saw anything in there. Okay,
No,
board
no.
member comments.
My only comment is great job, everybody. Great job, Rudy. I mean, those numbers and statistics is unbelievable. That's all you can say is thank you for the hard work and everything like that. I mean, as tough a time as it comes to come out on this, what's looking like the other end right now in such good shape, I think it's fantastic.
I second that. It's impressive. So I hope the staff and teachers recognize and to share our appreciation with them.
It's really incredible that we have less than a 3% loss in learning, and you're going to hear lots of things and see lots of things in the newspaper about our local schools, and theirs is going to be much greater than that. So it's phenomenal that we did that, Rudy. And, you know, a lot of that, besides our teachers, and it's our quality of remote learning, as well as all the parents that supported their kids with that. So that's really great.
Mhm. I'll pass on your good words to our staff.
Rudy,
Anybody?
how has Carline been going now that so many more kids are in school?
How's what been going, Ashley?
The morning Carline.
Oh. You know, it's going okay. You know, we've only done it for 2 days. We haven't pushed back our start time yet, although I expect by the end of the week we probably will on Monday morning. But we're pushing it right at 8 o'clock, 8:01. It's going pretty smoothly. Yeah.
We gotta get Hoots to keep those parents inside their car, man, and a pickup though. Come on. Every time I say them, David, get them back in the car. They're holding up the line.
We'll get to you. Some of them, they can't help them. They can't help themselves in the morning either.
I know it.
Oh.
Rudy, one last question for, I mean, I know the teachers were getting vaccinated a couple weeks ago, so everybody that was able to access that has been, and no problems there.
No, I think all the staff members who wanted to get vaccinated have been vaccinated. And if you've chosen not to, then you've missed out. And we, you know, I got mine, I don't know, over a month ago now, my second shot. So
Good.
we all had, the way they opened it up, it made it very easy for our teaching staff, for anybody, any staff member to get it done. And so the only people who didn't get it done now are, they're just people who chose not to.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I do have one more quick thing. Did we allocate money for Staff Appreciation Week, or those that money that goes to those,
For the points,
the points?
yes, we did.
Okay, good.
We did, because we wanted Rudy to have plenty of time to take care of it.
Okay, all right. I thought so, but I just thought double check.
Yes, we did.
I think it's I mean, I don't know, just given some of those numbers that we heard tonight too, if there's something above and beyond, you know, that we should talk about or consider. Just a thought. I was kind of with you, Deb.
Yeah, so Rudy knows he can always have a big ask, Vanessa. We always say yes. If he can think it up, we're gonna say yes.
Well, I'll put my deans on thinking up a big ask. I mean, we probably, I know we're planning one for summer learning next month, but maybe
And it needs to be something good before then, okay?
we'll try to bring you a big ask on behalf of the staff.
Okay, that would be great too. We ought to be able to handle that.
While we were on the subjects of vaccinations, real quick, remind me, well, probably Melissa would probably answer. All of our teachers and staff are employees of National Heritage Academies, correct?
Yes,
But
there's dual employment with the
Yes.
board.
Dual employment.
dual employment in North Carolina, that you're employed by both the board and National Heritage Academy.
Right.
My question was going to be, was NHA requiring employees to get vaccinated?
No, it's not a requirement or a condition of employment.
Okay.
And that's for all of us, all staff, all schools, everywhere. And the dual employment is in North Carolina as well as in New York.
Didn't know that.
All good questions. Anyone else have questions or comments? If not, then are we ready to adjourn? We just need a motion.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn tonight's meeting.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you so much, everyone. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Aye.